Racism. A very sensitive topic. We don't endorse racism, and we don't intend to be racist. It's just that knowing about the demographics and the history of why there is a concentration of white people in that area might be, interesting to a lot of people. In a globalized society where a lot of major cities and even countries has gotten even more multicultural, this piece of information helps so that people know what to expect in a neighborhood. Should they think about moving? So that they can know where to live and be near the types of restaurants and stores that they like. Hello everyone, and welcome back to World IQ. Let's get it. Just a little bit of a history lesson. According to the Library of Congress, people from many different countries made the decision to leave their homeland and immigrate to the United States in the late 1800s. Many people fled to the US due to starvation, land and job shortages, increased taxes, and crop failure. Back then, the US was widely perceived as the land of economic opportunity. Between 1870 and 1900, the number of immigrants entering the country was close to 12 million. Most of these folks came from Germany, Ireland, and England. The newcomers helped transform American society and culture. In 10 of these states, their population remained mostly white. Starting off with number 10, Nebraska. Welcome to the Cornhusker State, famous for its thriving music scene, vast prairies, spacious farmlands, and unique attractions. The once great American desert has since transformed into an agricultural state. It was in the 1870s when the European immigrant population in Nebraska was really taking off. The Danes came in, and the Swedes, the Irish, the Germans, and the Czechs all started to take up a huge chunk of the population share. 88.1% of Nebraska's population is white. Number 9, Montana. The Treasure State boasts its natural beauty, diverse wildlife, and its abundance of mineral resources. Their origin story started when the Italians and Germans started settling in Fergus country. If you ever see a crowd here, then it's highly likely that you'd see plenty of blonde hair and blue eye features. The cattlemen that ended up in Montana were mostly of English and Scottish descent. Before, the English and Scottish worked the cattle, and the owners were typically German. 88.9% of Montana's population is white. Number 8, Utah. Renowned for its vibrant Mormon population, breathtaking natural scenery, pastrami burgers, and for holding the Sundance Film Festival, Utah has a lot to offer. Before this town came to be what we know today, its origin story started when Spanish explorers, French, Canadians, and the British stomped around Utah. In 1847, during the Mormon exodus from Illinois, Mormon immigrants from Britain, Canada, Denmark, and Norway moved to Utah. They were the first non-Native Americans to settle. 90.6% of Utah's population is considered white. Number 7, Iowa. The Hawkeye State of more than 3 million people is home to one of the nation's largest cereal mills. If you've ever been to a country fair in Iowa, you'd probably expect that it's going to be on this list, or the ranking must be at least top 5. But the numbers don't lie though. Similar to other states, it was also in the 1840s when the majority of the settlers that came to Iowa were from the Scandinavian countries: Dutch, German, Irish, Scots, and Welsh. The current census on the white population of Iowa is 90.6%. Number 6, Wyoming. Did you know that Wyoming is the least populated state in the US? Wyoming's demographics can be attributed back to the early immigrant settlers, the British, Germans, Italians, Basque, and the Greeks. Ever since their integration into American society, they've developed subcultures of their own. The state is famous for bull riding and cowboy culture. Did I mention that it's home to some of the most magnificent rangelands? 92.5% of their population are identified as white. Number 5. Idaho. Do you know which state is famous for its potato production? Welcome to Idaho. For quite some time now, Idaho has had that reputation of being white since the late 19th and 20th centuries. A large majority of their settlers came from English descent. If you remember your history, Idaho did not have much of a government back then, compared to England, where it was a time when people were being taxed to death. Around 93% of their population is white. Number 4. New Hampshire. In a state where they consider Taco Bell as diversity, these people haven't seen much what diversity really is. During the colonial days, most of the residents here were British, Scottish, Irish, and French Canadians. The French Canadians came down for the textile mills, and a lot of them just chose to stay. 93.1% of the population is identified as white. Alright everyone, we already have our number 3. But before that, what do you think of the video so far? Have you ever been in any of these states? Or do you live in these states? Let us know in the comments. Coming in hot at number 3, West Virginia. It was during the 1700s when Scottish, Irish, and German settlers from Pennsylvania came to the area now known as Berkeley and Greenbrier. The Scottish and Irish cultures have integrated themselves into West Virginia. You can observe it in their folk music. They're heavy on Scottish and Irish influences. The total white population of West Virginia is 93.2%. Number 2. Vermont. Vermont is renowned for its lush forests, magnificent mountains, picturesque hiking paths, and world-class skiing. There are more than 100 beautiful wooden-covered bridges in the state. Vermont is like New Hampshire's twin. They're right next to each other, and a lot of their statistical data, like crime, grades, and economy, are very similar. And you know what they have in common again? White population. 94.2% of the population in Vermont is identified as white. Number 1. Maine. Congratulations to New England for having 3 states on our list. If you've ever visited New England, you're probably not even shocked why it's number 1 on the list. The population share of white people in Maine is 94.4%. Portland alone has a demographic of 91.27% as the population share of white people. If their largest city makes up that large, then it makes sense that they're at the top of our list. Whether you're white, black, Asian, Hispanic, or any other minority, let's celebrate diversity in all of its forms while appreciating the cultural uniqueness that each state brings. Let's continue shedding some light on the racial makeup of these states and keep on discovering their stories. The more we know, the more we understand. Ignorance is what drives fear. It's time we do something about that. Alright everyone, that's it for today's video. Thanks for tuning in to World IQ. I hope you guys learned something new today. What other topics should we do next? Let us know in the comments. If you like this video, subscribe and share, and continue expanding your World IQ by checking out the other videos on this channel. Have you ever wondered which states are the best for retirees? Check this out.